What do you need to make a short movie? If you're like me and have just started on a filmmaking journey, you may be letting some really basic things stop you from creating what you want to create. The main reasons for this are usually money for equipment, not having anyone around to help you, having the time to do it. I'm going to be covering these 3 points and showing you that maybe they're not as big or as important as you first might think. I really want to make a short film, but I've got no money or equipment. Unfortunately, money is a factor, and if you're like me, you have very limited funds to be able to put into filmmaking. As we're going to be making films, you're definitely going to need some kind of recording device. I'm in quite a fortunate position because my brother is a photographer and he's allowed me to borrow his DSLR camera. Now, that would probably be the first step to take, is to ask family and friends if they've got any kind of camera that you might be able to borrow from them for a short period of time, long enough to make your film. But if you're not in that position and none of your friends and family have this available, you can always use one of these, your mobile phone. Most people have got a smartphone of some description, and smartphones these days have got really good video cameras on them. Now, I did an experiment with my Samsung 8. I'll put a link in the description below for that video. I just got my phone, switched on the camera and shot a few random things with the idea of doing some kind of B-roll or something like that. In the end, I just filmed a few bits and pieces. I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it, and then I just put them together and made a kind of experimental film, which turned out okay. I didn't use any video camera settings other than just the standard, and during the editing process I didn't do any colour correction or grading or anything like that, and it still came out pretty clear. With a bit of tweaking in post-production, you'll probably be able to get it looking quite sharp. One thing that I would definitely recommend that you need to actually buy, which isn't expensive, is one of these. It's a selfie stick with a tripod. Now, these are really cheap. I got this for about £5, so although you are spending money, a few quid, probably not going to make too much difference. Once you have that, you can set your camera up on the tripod and away you go. Whereas if you don't have this, it would be quite fiddly setting it up. You'd have to lean it up against things, but there's always ways around everything. It doesn't have to look amazing on your first try. Chances are it probably won't. But the idea is just get out there and start shooting something. Next thing you need to do is find an editing software. Now, editing software can be really expensive. Often they are monthly payment or subscription, or just a big amount of money to pay out. As you're first starting out, there's no point in spending this money because there are a lot of free versions of these softwares. Adobe Premiere does a 30-day free trial, but there are some other completely free ones. I use DaVinci Resolve 16. Which is completely free. So you can upload your videos, edit them as much as you like, and you can even put some effects on them as well if you want to. I think this would be the best way to go because we don't want to be spending money on something that we can get for nothing. I don't have anyone around me that's willing to help me on my filmmaking journey. If you don't have anyone around you that's interested in filmmaking, it doesn't mean you can't make films. That's really important. You can still make films even if it's just you on your own with nobody else. The way you do this is by using the selfie stick tripod that I talked about earlier. Now with that, you can set the camera up different angles and you can do some acting, walk past it, run, whatever you want to do. In the editing software, you can add camera pans and things that you can move the camera around to a small extent. And you can zoom in and zoom out, add camera shake and all that sort of thing. So don't be too concerned about that, just make sure your camera's set up in a good position to catch you in whatever it is that you're doing. What you need to do really is to write a film script that revolves around just one central character. Put them in some kind of situation and go from there. And just think of something very, very simple. It doesn't really even have to mean anything. It's just something to get you using the camera and starting to get your practice in. What I normally do is I use word processing software. I just chuck all my ideas onto the sheet, basically get a rough outline of where I want it to go, what the story is, what the concept is, any sort of rough dialogue, whatever. Just get everything from out there and onto there. Once that's done, there's a free script writing software called Trelby, which I use. Very basic, very simple, but it allows you to set the script out in a recognisable format that's easy for you to print off and take with you when you start shooting. It's a very good way of being able to visualise how your film's going to turn out. I just don't have time to make a short film. Okay, time is a very important element of this process. Finding time to do a hobby is not always as hard as you think. If you just spend a little bit of time here and there doing it, you can build that up at a gradual pace. Perhaps you work 6 days a week, you only get 1 day a week off. So the idea is on your day off, just get in there, make that film, and then in the evenings or whatever, when you finish work, you can just tap away and do the editing at a gradual stage. Actual filming, if you're doing something short, I mean like really short, the actual filming doesn't take very long. One of the films I did that was under a minute took me roughly about 2 hours to film all the scenes that I needed. I did it all indoors, cracked it out as quick as I could. I wasn't too concerned about whether it was cinematic enough or whether all the angles were correct and if the framing was... I just thought, I just want to make something, so I'm going to just make something. So about 2 hours. Then the editing process probably took about another 2 hours on top of that, maybe 3. And that all depends on how far you want to delve into the editing software. I didn't do any colour correction, any white balance correction, I didn't do any colour grading. All I did was put the scenes, cut them together how I thought they would flow correctly. That was it. Probably a total of about 5 hours if you put it all into one block, which isn't that long to make something. Now you could even do a 30-second film. It doesn't even matter. 30 seconds isn't going to take you very long at all. It'll just be a couple of scenes put together and it'll give you that first step in creating films. Best thing that I did was just to make something. It gives you that incentive to create more because you know you can complete something. You've finished it. You've done your first film. So time is obviously an important factor, but if it's a hobby you want to do, then try and put that time in and you won't regret it. You'll be happy that you did because that time goes by, you've done it and you've achieved something. I believe strongly that anyone can learn anything if they put their mind to it and apply to it. But if you're in a position like me, I wanted to make films, didn't know how to. First thing I did was go on YouTube and look up how to make a short film. You'll get loads of results. And there's some great YouTube content providers out there that are happy to explain all their skills and how they do things aimed at people like us who are just starting out, which is brilliant. I don't think I could do it without that. YouTube is my filmmaking college, so to speak. Skills will come over time, like anything. You start anything new, you're not going to have a clue what you're doing. Give it a year, 2 years, 3 years, you're going to know a lot more about it than when you first started, that's for sure. Film some short films, see if you like it. If you do, then start thinking about how you can progress with that. In the meantime, just learn the basics and get out there and make a film. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell because I'll be doing more videos on writing scripts, film ideas and other bits and pieces. Hopefully I've managed to show you that a lot of things that stop us from making films aren't quite as important as we first thought. Look in the description, I've put a few links to all the things that I've been talking about. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video and I'll catch you soon.